Okay, so that previous video was called an introduction to networking. You could see that there. And before that, we talked about the second information revolution. Now we're just going to quickly, since we've covered most of the stuff in my own PowerPoint presentation and notes, we're going to quickly talk about, like, you know, how the textbook talks about this. Maybe we'll pick up a thing or two more, which I didn't have in my notes. So describe computer networks and their pros and cons. So the pros would be sharing information, sharing resources. The cons would be like there's some cost, right? There's physical cost to buy certain equipment, and there's some time cost to figure out how to run them and get everything connected and get on Wi-Fi and pay for your Wi-Fi service and all that. Explain the differences, ways networks are defined. PANs, LANs, and WANs, personal area network, local area network, wide area network. I'm just going to go with that. And then there's also client-server architecture, and there's also peer-to-peer architecture. I'll go with that too. And sometimes some architectures are using the star topology. That's the most common one today. So we got, no, sorry, the star topology. That's right, star topology, client-server architecture, and then protocols, right? They have protocols. Describe the, I gotta take a drink, hold on. Describe the types of transmission media used in networks. So we've got hubs, switches, and routers, and those all play an important role. Describe the basic hardware devices necessary for networks. Servers is what comes to mind to me. We'll see what the book says. Describe the type of software necessary for networks. Well, you need like server software for some of the stuff, and there's the internet, which can be thought of as the hardware, and then the World Wide Web could be thought of as a service or a software that's running on the internet. So there's all kinds of software. But server software, summarize the broadband options available to access the internet. So you could just Google in your area internet access, and it'll bring up Xfinity and maybe AT&T, and some of them will be gigabit service, and some of them might provide fiber optic service, right, versus coaxial. So that might be how it's categorized. Summarize how to access the internet wirelessly. Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is pretty much how you get on the, and you could also have a hotspot. You could hotspot your phone. Explain what should be considered when evaluating. So hotspotting your phone is when on your phone you have internet service because your cell phone provider provides you with internet service as part of your plan, and then you could then share that. You could turn your cell phone into a Wi-Fi router that other devices can connect to, and you do that by hotspotting your phone. So you could Google your phone and ask, how do I hotspot my phone? And it'll tell you, ChatGPT or the web. Explain what should be considered when evaluating a home network. You should think about what devices you want to connect and how you're going to connect them, wired or wirelessly. Describe how a home network is set up. You get your router, you get your internet service provider, and then you follow the instructions. Describe the potential problems with wireless networks and the means to avoid them. We'll see what the book says about that. Describe how to secure wireless home networks. We talked about that in the previous video. So networking fundamentals. Node. So here's a word we didn't talk about. A node is any device connected to a network. So that term there, node, you see it up in the corner, right? It is like some device connected to a network. And this picture here kind of shows you just like all the different things that you could do with a device connected to a network, right? From using a smart thermostat to participating in video conferencing and collaborating on projects to streaming movies, music, and other entertainment to playing online video games with friends. So the benefits of the network is all about sharing information and sharing physical resources. So, sharing high-speed internet connection, printers and peripheral devices, files, and common communications. Disadvantage of a network is that you got to buy stuff and set it up and figure it out, and that costs something. How data moves through networks. So bandwidth is how thick is the pipe, how big is the pipe, right? Small bandwidth, narrow bandwidth, broadband, right? And throughput is how much is traveling through the pipe. And so data transfer rate is the maximum speed data can be transmitted and measured in megabits per second or gigabits per second. And you could speed test your connection like we saw in the last video. Network architectures, so wide area, metropolitan area, local area, and personal area. WAN, MAN, LAN, and PAN. So that's some categories. We talked about those, except for the MAN one. And then we have some architectures. We have peer-to-peer. We also have client-server. So we talked about those in the previous video. But there's a nice image. I like that image. And classifying networks by protocols. So Ethernet is developed by the IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. And, that's Ethernet is like there's Ethernet cable. And so Ethernet is like a protocol that's used for sending data back and forth. And it has backward compatibility, meaning as the new Ethernet standard comes out, the old stuff still works with the new standard still helps the old stuff work. Classifying networks by protocols, rules of communication. So in the previous one, we saw Ethernet. There's also wireless networks. They use the Wi-Fi protocol, and there's Wi-Fi 6 and WiGig. I've never heard of WiGig. I guess maybe that is like gigabit service, but I used to hear it called Wi-Fi. And then we have network components, okay? So network adapter, right? So every node, each of these are nodes. They're each connected to the networks. They're each called a node. Every node has some sort of network adapter inside that allows it to connect to the network. And then there's networking software running on each computing device that allows it to communicate on the network, right? And so there's the modem, router, switch, hub, call it what you will. And mostly people call it a router. The router is the part that routes communications between devices, on that one Wi-Fi hotspot. And that's what it's also called, is a Wi-Fi hotspot. And then the modem is the part that allows the router / modem to communicate with the outer world, right? So it's modulating and demodulating transmission over some media. So that modem is doing that. Though, inside you're also taking things from digital and maybe sending them analog to here because you're sending them wirelessly. And then transmission media established a communications channel between the nodes on a network, wireless networks, wired networks. Transmission media establish a communications channel between the nodes. So you're going to either, that's a crazy complicated way to say, you're either going to connect devices with wires or you're going to connect them wirelessly. And then we talked about the different wires, and so you can see them here. And we also talked about all that stuff. We saw that's what maybe ChatGPT this stuff earlier. And we also saw operating system for a peer-to-peer network. So peer-to-peer network, you need special software to run a peer-to-peer network. So if you're going to do those old school file sharing programs, I don't know if there's still file sharing programs out there, you would install special software to do that. And we also talked about client-server networks, and how those work in the previous video. So we're just kind of checking to make sure we covered all this. And then we have a home network. On a home network, we could share our internet connection, but we have to purchase internet access from an internet service provider. And so that's a specialized provider, and it's a company that provides other services too. And you could also get like cellular or dial-up internet connection. So you got to get connection, and you have to pay for that usually to get it. And then there's like broadband. And so here are some of the different connections that are out there. There's broadband, that's cable internet. There's digital subscriber line, DSL. I don't really hear about that anymore. There's fiber optic service, which is like, the best. And you can also get satellite internet. So this is cool. And if you're hanging out for this video, then you're going to learn something, Skylink, I think it's called. You're going to learn something cool. And this is Starlink, that's it. And so Elon Musk created this, and because he created rockets, which could get stuff into space really quick and inexpensively, he put satellites, tons of satellites up in space, and you could connect anywhere, like places you couldn't connect to the internet before, and it just communicates with all these satellites which have been shot into space, and so he's basically going to own all of the hardware for the internet. Which is why when you look at the world's richest people, right? When you look at the world's richest people, Elon Musk is the world's richest person, 256 billion, and Bezos is only at 214, and Zuckerberg is at 199. But this guy is going to own the internet, and the World Wide Web runs on the internet. And so he's putting all those satellites up into space, which is extraordinary. So where were we? This is where we are. And so that's satellite internet. So you could read that little image there, the different pieces of information about that. Connecting to the internet. Didn't we just do this? What was this one? No. So you could do wireless internet at home, Wi-Fi. You could do a mobile hotspot on your cell phone. So there's an image there on the screen of turning on a personal hotspot. And then that becomes like a Wi-Fi that connects to the internet through your phone. So you have another computer, your laptop. So it's like, this is the way this is used. So you're at the airport and there's no good internet provided by the airport. So you turn, but your cell phone has wireless connection through your cell phone provider, has, connection, internet connection. So you turn on your personal hotspot, and then with that on, you connect to your phone's Wi-Fi, your personal hotspot with your laptop, and you're using internet now on your laptop through your phone. So that's a mobile hotspot. A wireless ISP, that would be like, internet service through a cell phone provider, internet service provider that's wireless. And so they're not sending it to you via cable to your house, but it's coming to your house wirelessly. And then your data plan is like your cell phone service has some data plan that tells you how much you get to use, or if you don't get any at all. So if you're going to evaluate your home network, you want to think about what devices are connecting to your home network. I don't really think about that. I just think, I guess I kind of do. I think, I do a lot of video, and so I need a gigabit service, right? I want to download video, I want to upload video. But actually here recently, I'm under 100 megabits per second. It's fine. And so that's kind of those 2 points there. Use the latest standard and use the newest equipment. I mean, you think about that if you evaluate a home network. I went to somebody's house and their stuff wasn't working. I'm like, well, your router is like from 2016. That's kind of old. I'd ask Xfinity for a new router. And so that was like, look, you need to get newer equipment. So you also think about number of wired devices on your network. Like, am I going to wire stuff on my home network, or am I going to connect everything wirelessly? So that's what you think about when setting up your home network. You can also attach specialized networking devices to your home network, like a network attached storage device. So this is a NAS right here, a network attached storage, and it's just like a bunch of hard drives in a really small little computer that looks like a box. And so anybody could connect to that on the network and store stuff. So if you're storing a lot of files. So if you're like Mr. Beast and you're making videos and you have just tons of video files and you have tons of people shooting footage, you're going to have some NAS where like all these files are being stored, and the people who are editing the files can access them and see them and pull them together to put the videos together. You're going to maybe have a home network server, right, which provides additional stuff like authentication, authorization, file storage, sharing applications between different connected computers. Wi-Fi's range is about 350 feet without any walls, floors, or large metal objects interfering with the signal. But you can get repeaters, so you could get a repeater, and it will boost the Wi-Fi signal, so it's a booster. And you put it where there's a weak access point, and it then amplifies the signal from that point. So it's kind of like, I don't know what the analogy be. Like I can't pass a football 350 feet, but I could, maybe I can, that's 100, no I can't. But if I get like two more friends together, we could send it that far. So with these repeaters, it could send the signal farther. That's the analogy. And then we talked about encrypting and securing your Wi-Fi network, and there you can see that. I'm not sure what piggybacking means. What does piggybacking mean in relation to networks? What I've heard it before. Does piggybacking mean in relation to networks? And I think that means somebody's like piggybacking on your network. They aren't actually paying for it. That's a weird phrase. Man, kind of tired. Piggybacking refers to the unauthorized use of someone else's wireless internet connection, typically Wi-Fi, without their permission. So you could piggyback on your neighbor's Wi-Fi if they've left it open. There you go. If you don't know it, you can look it up. And then finally, we have these last two slides. Additional methods for securing a wireless network. You could limit the signal range. You could keep your router firmware up to date. And you could disable remote access. Sounds good. And then finally, here's what, like, if you go into your router, your Wi-Fi setup page, and you can see that address up here is this IP address 192.168.1.1 / like your router, your wireless router at home that your Wi-Fi is broadcast through. You could get to an admin page, and usually it's an address like that one up there, and you could just Google, like, take a picture of your wireless router, all the settings, upload that to ChatGPT and say, how do I get to the admin page? And it'll give you a list of instructions like go to 192.168.1.1, and then you could get in, and you could do things like disabling the SSID and changing the SSID and all that. You could set up your wireless router. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an hour or so about networking. And for me, the most amazing thing is just the time period we're living in, and that we could share so much information. And that's really going to transform humanity and individuals. Again, it's going to be amazing. Good job to you for watching these lectures and for showing up and for doing the work and for learning material. And if you keep doing that every day, you're going to progress. You're going to build a better life. And when you go to bed at night, you could thank yourself. You could think and be proud of yourself. You could think, I'm proud of myself today. Look at what I did. I did the work. I watched the lecture. I read the chapter. I did the problems. I did my homework. I'm taking good steps. And if you keep taking good steps, you're going to end up in a good place. So exercise every day or 3 times a week. Get your sleep, right? Do your work. Study. Be good to people. Be kind. Help other people and give people the benefit of the doubt. So if you feel like you've been wronged by somebody, like, who knows what's going on in their life? Maybe their dog died. Maybe they're getting divorced, maybe they're having health complications. Like, just extend to everybody a little bit of love and kindness and compassion, and also to ourselves. Like, be proud of yourself. Look at how far you've come already. Like, I love this theory that you're the front of a long lineage of survivors. Like, all of your ancestors, every single human that came before you was a survivor. They survived long enough to pass on their genetic code. They were survivors. And now you are the forefront, the tip of the spear of this long lineage of survivors. You are a survivor, right? And now you could do all of your ancestors proud. Like, they all lived long enough to, pass on their genes and to eventually, bring you into fruition and into this existence. And you could do them proud. You could learn. You could be kind to others. You could survive. Like, you could take good steps. You could give people the benefit of the doubt. And you can also be grateful to yourself every night when you go to bed. I did a good job today. I'm taking good steps. And you take good steps, you're going to get up and you're going to keep moving towards a good place. 100% guaranteed. So don't stop. There's a lot of people here that are here to help you at the community college, Fresno City College. And we got all kinds of resources. We've got a grocery store on campus called the Ram Pantry, where it's all free for the students. You could come in and get food every day, 5 days a week, and free food. And there's academic counselors, there's financial aid counselors, there's psychological counselors. So if you're going through something in your life, you can come see any of those counselors, but particularly the psychological counselors if you're going through something. And those are people who have studied, like, how do you get out of it? And all this philosophy I'm sharing with you is philosophy I learned from psychological counselors, well, a lot of it, because I was fortunate enough to have been raised in a community where, this was something that, like, I was raised by a lot of people in the social scientists and in the middle of the human potential movement, sociologists, social scientists, psychologists, family therapists, and I learned a lot of this material. It's not something everybody knows. So you'll learn this stuff. If you go to psychological counselors, they'll teach you the perspectives that you need to build a great life. So I send that out to all of you, and maybe also I'll just leave you with, for whatever reason, I feel the impulse to share this. Well, of course, you want to watch this video. The quality of your life depends upon the quality of your relationships. Robert Waldinger, What Makes a Good Life, Lessons from the Longest Study on Happiness. But also another great one is, and I'll bring it up here, you could watch I Am Not Your Guru trailer. Okay, so this is also on Netflix, or this is on Netflix right here. So this guy does a lot of neuro-linguistic programming, and so that's a form of psychology therapy, psychological therapy. So I'm Not Your Guru. and that's an inspiring movie. But I would also watch, in addition to that, I'd watch Arnold Schwarzenegger Netflix trailer, right? And I think it's just called Arnold. There it is. And so this was a great show, also just about how having the right philosophy, having the right perspectives, and the right focus in your life, taking good steps will help you end up in a good place. And Arnold Schwarzenegger started out in a hard spot with his family of origin, and he made good strides. So it's a fun movie to watch just because he's got good perspectives. Hey, that's it. That's this chapter, this module. Have a great day. Make it a great one. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and keep learning, keep taking good steps. See you next time.